That is just a gorgeous ultramarine. Hello and welcome to this video. I'm going to be setting up my studio palette. This is a palette that I bought already used at a garage sale, and I've cleaned it up, and as you can see, some of the colors are going to be staining anyway, so I'm not too worried that it's got a couple of stains in it. I kind of expect that. Anyway, let's get to the top picks. I've picked 13 colors plus a white, so I'm going to go ahead and start with my white, and then once I get them in the palette, I will be swatching them out to show you a little bit more in depth, and then we will be making a mix-and chart similar to this one. Alrighty, so let's get started. My first pick is for my white. I am using the Titanium White Opaque by M. Graham. And there's going to be no need to swatch this one out. I'm only going to put a little bit in each little thing. Mix that up a bit there because some of the gum arabic needs mixed up. I'm just using my little dot tool to mix it in there because it just wipes off so perfect. Alright, so the next color, my yellow, this is a Hansa Yellow Light by Daniel Smith. Again, I'm just going to be putting a small dot. My next color is New Gamboge by Daniel Smith, which is kind of a really nice orangey yellow. Very nice. Alright, put a little dab there. Alright, so for my red, I am using the Pyrrole Scarlet by Daniel Smith. Another thing I really think I'm going to like with this palette, now I've never used a palette quite like this one, is that it does have these areas here if I need to mix up a lot of a color or do a nice wash with it. I also can use the center here as a mixing area, which I really like that about. Get a good nice wash here with the depth of it. So it looks like it really would be good. There is a nice lid that fits airtight to it. But this seems like, even though it's not porcelain, it is a very heavy plastic. Okay, so this one is the quinacridone rose. I chose to go with the rose instead of the pink. Now, pink is still going to be a color I use, but on a different palette. I chose to go with the pink. The rose, because it is going to also serve as kind of a violet for me. So I don't typically really carry a whole lot of purples or violets on my palette, so I like that this one I can easily mix in a nice blue with, and just, it seems to be a little bit more versatile for this particular palette that I'm setting up. And that one is by Daniel Smith as well. And this next color I'm going into is the Ultramarine Blue by M. Graham. I have done a comparison between the M. Graham and the Daniel Smith. But the Daniel Smith one was a French ultramarine, but the colors honestly is what I was trying to compare, and if you have not seen that video, go check that out. I will be linking that as well if you're interested. My next color is the Manganese Blue Hue by Daniel Smith. here and do me a little place here. Let's just do it here. And I'm going to use a good amount of that blue there. All right, next we have the Phthalo Blue Green shade by Daniel Smith. Very powerful blues. I like to do my skies a lot with these colors. The Prussian blue is by M. Graham. And it really only takes a little bit of this. Now I did buy a brand new paint here from Winsor & Newton. This is a permanent sap green. I have not used this. I've only used the Cotman sap green. So I'm looking forward to swatching these out for you. So for me, this one will be a first too. But I figured it was a really good neutral green to go with. All right, so my next pick is Moon Glow by Daniel Smith. The thing I love about the Moon Glow, and I also have a review on this, is it kind of leans more towards these purpley violet, almost kind of a warm gray. I love using that in shading, like shadows and things like that, because it just adds that extra little undertones and stuff to it. It's just, I love this color. All right, moving on. We have a neutral tint from Daniel Smith. We're going to continue on here with the neutral tint. What do I want to do? I think I'm going to go here with the neutral tint. It's a nice neutral gray, and I can add colors to neutralize them, and yeah, very quick way. You can neutralize colors by mixing, but so quick and easier to do it this way oftentimes. Okay, this is the Burnt Umber by M. Graham. Again, a beautiful color. I'm going to put it right in here. Don't need a whole lot of that color. And last but not least is the Payne's Gray by M. Graham. This really replaces black for me, but I like it because you'll see in the swatch. If you haven't seen this color before, it is very versatile. All right, so here's the palette. I'm gonna set this, get me some water, let that set for a minute, and then we are going to be doing some swatches. Alrighty, so I'm going to be using a flat brush. Always good to practice with one of those. And I've made up a little swatch card here. And I've made a line here to test the transparency. Alright, so first color is the titanium white. Now this is supposed to be more of an opaque color. All right, so here we go with the Hansa Yellow Light. I'm just really trying to get more of a flat wash on these, to be honest. I'm not trying to do a gradient or anything like that. This new Gamboge. I just don't really want to touch much of the color above it. And this is Pyrrole Scarlet. Again, this is by Daniel Smith. Oops. I'm really trying not to run the paint together, but if it happens, it happens. We'll get some cool mixing surprises, right? Next color by Daniel Smith is Quinacridone Rose. Again, I've reviewed this paint in a previous video. So if you haven't had a chance to see that, you can go to my channel. I'm swatching this particular one, on the Arches or Arch Hot Pressed. So this is the Ultramarine by M. Graham. Isn't that gorgeous? That is just a gorgeous ultramarine. The next color is Manganese Blue. Sometimes this color can take just a moment. It is a hue, so it's not true manganese. You give it time to melt and get it to the right consistency with your water, but it is a beautiful color. Again, as I was saying, for mixes. Alright, there is the Manganese Blue. Next we have the Phthalo Blue green shade. Very powerful, strong. Can also be a very staining color. So be mindful of that. So here we go. This is again by Daniel Smith. And again, the reason I have so many blues on my palette is because I use them a lot for mixing. Let's check out this Prussian blue from M. Graham. Prussian blue is another very staining color. So again, if that's an issue for you, you need to be aware of that. Prussian blue is a very versatile, it's almost like your Payne's gray. You can go get really dark with it or really light, but there you go. Okay, moving on to the Permanent Sap Green by Winsor & Newton. Oh, this is a first for me, so let's see. Is it like the Cotman Sap Green? I think I need a little bit more on there. Sap Green. I know the Cotman one can be just a little, you really kind of have to get it on your brush. It might take a moment, but this one seems way better than that. It's really hard to tell until it dries, so let's keep going to the Burnt Umber. I don't want to get it in the Prussian blue, but if it happens, it happens. Like right there. Well, let's try that again. Good. Next we have our Moon Glow by Daniel Smith. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful color. Very deep purpley gray is the only way I can describe it. Alright, Neutral Tint by Daniel Smith. Alright. Last but not least, Payne's Gray by M. Graham. Alright. we're going to let that dry, and I'll be back, and we're going to make a mixing chart. Okay, so let me explain a little bit about my chart. As you can see, this is a mixing chart here of colors that I've labeled down one side and across the other. The idea is that the closer it is to this side, the more of this color it's going to have. The closer it is to this side, the more of this color it's going to have in the mix. Alright, so I'm going to speed this up, and I'll be back with the finished chart. And now I'm ending it with the Payne's Gray. So as you can see, I can get a lot of colors. Actually, this is 169 colors. Tints, shades. Look, I have a lot of neutrals down in here. A lot of earth tones here with this burnt umber. I have to say Moonglow is just a beautiful color to mix with. All right, let's see. I want to show you quickly. Here are the swatches from the palette once they dried. It's amazing that from this I can get all these colors. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed that video. If you'd like to see more content like this on painting tutorials for beginners, go ahead and leave me a thumbs up and subscribe. It's always greatly appreciated. And I'll see you back here in the next one.